My name is Emi Kimura. I'm an extension agronomist in Texas A&M AgriLife Extension in Vernon, Texas. Today I'm going to talk about Texas Rolling Plains wheat variety picks list for 2025 and 2026 growing season. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge Texas Wheat Producers Board for the funding, and then county agents and my colleagues from Texas A&M AgriLife Extension and Texas A&M AgriLife Research for their cooperation. And also a big thank you goes to my collaborators, grower cooperators, for allowing us to conduct our trials in their land. So our picks list for this coming season for grain-only production is on the left side, and it's the Bobdol, Green Hammer, High Cotton, Showdown, and Westbred 4595, and the watch list is Amigos. And for dual-purpose production system, our picks list for this coming season is Green Hammer, Westbred 4595, Westbred 4792, and Amigos. As you may know already, if you stop by our field day, you heard this enough, but the picks list are the varieties that performed well for the past 3 years, and the watch list is the variety that performed well for past 2 years. And before I go into the yield data and a little more the characteristic of each variety, I guess, I'm gonna just kind of visit on the height data I took from 25 in Haskell County. So I don't want you to take this exact number and think these varieties gonna be this tall in your farm. It's the height of variety can change very widely depending on the year and the environmental condition, especially the water and the nutrient management. But the relativeness of varieties may stay the same. So for example, Showdown, you might be familiar with Showdown. It's kind of taller side among all the varieties, and so as Bobdol. So you might not be familiar with Amigos yet because this is a relatively newer variety. But if you see the Showdown Amigos, in a cross by in this height data, that means Amigos can get tall on your farm if you manage with aggressive input. So this might be the good data to check on the variety of your interest and see how tall it can get compared to the variety you might be already familiar with. So first one in our list is Bobdol, and it was developed by AgriPro and released in 2018. This variety has shown a good grain yield potential and as one of the tallest variety tested in the state. The height is typically similar to Showdown in my trials in the past, and it is rated resistant to leaf rust and stripe rust. The 3-year average yield is 45.8 bushel per acre and has been a very popular variety in Texas Rolling Plains. Next one is High Cotton. This was developed by OSU and released in 2023. This is a relatively newer variety and has performed especially well the past 2 seasons. It is resistant to stripe rust, but the variety is moderately susceptible to leaf rust. 3-year average yield of High Cotton is 48.8 bushel per acre. Showdown was developed by OSU and was released in 2018. This variety can get tall with aggressive input like water and nutrients. 3-year average yield is 46.6 bushel per acre, and again, this is one of the very popular variety by our growers in the Texas Rolling Plains. Green Hammer is the picks list for both grain-only production system and dual-purpose production system. It was developed by OSU and released in 2018. 3-year average grain-only production yield is 47.8 bushel per acre. And before I touch base on the dual-purpose performance of those picks list for dual purpose, I'm gonna go into next picks list. Westbred 4595 was developed by Westbred and released in 2019. It is resistant to leaf rust, but moderately susceptible to stripe rust. 3-year average yield was 50.5 bushel, and it was highest in this 3 years average yield. Next one is Westbred 4792. This is a PICS list for dual-purpose production system for Texas rolling plains wheat growers. Westbred 4792 was developed by Westbred and released in 2019. This is resistant to leaf rust and moderately resistant to stripe rust. The 3-year average yield is 43.1 bushel per acre. And it provides good yield in dry land and both irrigated conditions. And this is the 3-year average forage and grain data from Ford County dual-purpose trial. The bars, this green bars represents forage biomass in pounds per acre, and then the green line represents the grain yield from the dual-purpose trial. Orange line represents the grain yield from grain-only production in the same trial site. So when you look at it, Green Hammer produces way higher grain forage yield compared to Westbred 4595 and Westbred 4792. But these two varieties produce a little higher grain yield in both dual-purpose situation and the grain-only situation. So I always say it's up to you as a grower to pick which variety you want to go with. If you put the importance on forage production, I would prefer Green Hammer, but if you want to get the better grain yield after clipping or grazing the forage, Westbred varieties might be your choice. The reason why I have only 3 varieties in this 3 years average yield from Ford County is that there are not many varieties have that consecutive 3 years data. So there may be other varieties that might perform well as a dual purpose that I was not able to pick those other varieties as a pick list due to the lack of data from the trial. And finally, the Amigos is our watch list, and then this is the watch list for both grain-only production and then dual-purpose production system. And then 3 years average yield is 43.8 bushel per acre. And this was developed by Texas A&M AgriLife Research and licensed to Adaptive Genetics in 2023. This variety offers excellent disease and insect package. And the previous picks list was selected based on many locations across the Texas rolling plains. But if you want to so this is the data on the left side that the picks list was based on. And I highlighted those picks list varieties in yellow. So most of them perform really well in 3 years average yield out of 8 locations. But if you want to look at the Chillicothe, the northern rolling plains area where I interact the most with through the field days, these are your data too to relate your varieties too. So you might be interested in other varieties outside of picks list and want to make sure your variety perform well. You might want to look at this table too on the 3 years data, 3 years average data. I'm going to put the link to the variety testing website in the description box below. With that, thank you so much for your attention and hope to see you in the next video.